Hey everybody, I would like to welcome you to another episode of Pop Culture Gems. This is a series where I, Davis Green, talk to amazing creators, artists, cosplayers, voice actors, and so much more. If you like the interviews we do with our terrific guests, like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the CFG channel. We release Pop Culture Gems on all podcast services and also on our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com. Today, I am talking to an awesome voice actor who has been in video games and anime series throughout the years. He has roles such as I can never say this name correctly, but Alhaitham in Genshin Impact, the Pokemon trainer Raihan in Pokemon Twilight Wings, and the powerful Chobi Aza in Hell's Paradise. And you can currently see him now in an anime series called A Sign of Affection, playing Aoshi Ahioki. I would like to welcome Nazeeh Tarsha to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
But every time when I see Alhaitham, I'm like, this is way too many vowels too close together. I can never get that correctly. I just never do it.
It's all, look, close enough is good enough. People will know what you're talking about. That's all that matters.
Yeah, man, no, the Genshin Impact community does not, they don't mess around. So
no, they do not. They do not. If you do, you're not wrong, actually. So yeah. So just in case they come for your ass, it's all Alhaitham.
Yeah, Alhaitham. There you go.
Yeah,
so don't kill me, Genshin Impact community. I'm sorry. Oh man. All right. Well, Eddie, let's get into it, man. So as always, I always like to ask this to all voice actors that come onto the show. What is your story? What got you into voice acting?
So the long story short of it was that I was in college, and I ended up taking a couple of theater electives and whatnot. And over my summer, I needed to take a couple more classes in order to hit the requirement to get a loan. So I was like, you know what? I made friends with the theater elective. It was a general theater appreciation class or whatever. So I signed up for a couple of classes. One was improv, and one was acting for non-majors. And that was kind of when the bug bit for acting in general. And then not too long after, I auditioned into the program, first try, got in. It was a super, super prideful moment for me, and one that made me say, okay, you know what? I'm switching gears. I'm going to go into this as a career path. I feel like maybe there's something here. But you learn very, very quickly that it's a very look-driven field. And I'm 5'5", I'm short, I'm fat. I ain't getting no lead roles anytime soon on camera. So I think I was just sitting in my living room with a couple of my roommates when it kind of hit me that we watch these various cartoons and shows and whatnot, and obviously playing video games with each other, and it kind of hit me that, oh wait, it's voice acting is a thing, a branch of acting, so maybe I can do that. And that's kind of when I started doing more research and getting more engrossed into the field of voiceover as an option, so that I could, find a more prosperous career than, just kind of being relegated to my appearance. And don't get me wrong, voiceover still has a little bit of that goes on too, of course, especially when you have the motion capture, the facial likeness and all that. But for the most part, I mean, I play a lot of either hot guys or really built as hell guys, and I'm just yeah, nah, that ain't me. That's my voice, but that ain't me, So
I love that, yeah, because I was noticing that when I was looking at the list. I'm like, man, you have a lot of Husbandos under your list that you've been
man,
using.
it's I'll take it, man. If you got a hot guy you need voiced, as long as you think my voice still fits that category, I'm always here for it, man.
I mean, well, do you remember the first role that you got, getting your feet wet into the voiceover?
Yeah, so my first professional gig actually was on a live action called Swordmaster. So I had been taking like workshops and whatnot, and through those workshops, um, I led into like personal coaching and or private coaching rather, and with the private coaching, it led both of those experiences ended up leading to people referring me and recommending me to various directors, friends, engineers, etc. And Stephen Hoff, formerly at Okatron back then, he ended up bringing me on to do some bits, kind of get my feet wet. His wife, Terry, actually, who was my coach at that time, she ended up recommending me to him. It was like, hey, he's got some potential. He's got some promise. Throw him on some bits or wall or whatever. So I remember I went in and, it's super, super, super nerve wracking. It's like first session, first ever time doing this. And, as much as you take the classes and whatnot, nothing ever truly like prepares you for like the real world moment until you actually experience it and get it under your belt. So there was a little bit of an oh shit moment for me when, you're sitting in the booth and when you're slamming out like random bits, when people think voiceover, they think, having like a multitude of like wacky voices, going from like your super high pitched falsettos all the way down to your deep growly like orcs and whatnot. But when you're doing a live action, you're dubbing over humans. So that range immediately gets limited to something closer to this, where it's just like, okay, cool. You have to go to your higher and your lower, but not to the cartoony range of it. So, being put through the ringer then, where it's like, oh, so this is what it's like to be thrown on like things where it's like, you're not given a heads up on what you're recording. You're just like, okay, cool. Let's check out this dude. Yeah, he looks old. Go ahead and just like age up your voice a little bit. All right, cool. Done. Next guy. He looks closer to you. Just your normal voice. Great. Next guy. High pitch yourself just a slightly bit higher, maybe a little nasally or whatever. It's like, that was my first time like really experiencing the gauntlet. But yeah, my first time getting my feet wet was that live action. And then from there, Steven, he recommended me to various friends and folks, him and Terry. And that's kind of how I ended up getting into, at the time, Funimation. Through Joel McDonald, he brought me on One Piece, and from there it was just like it's as you continue to do. Presumably, I did good work. Or in the very least, people liked working with me. I suppose, whatever the reason is, I slowly started getting into other people's booths, started making more connections, more friends, and really, really long answer to say here's where I am now.
Well, no, I mean, that's pretty cool. I love it. I mean, it's just like, it just show. But I just like to show the progression of like, because I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's certain situations where people who may not have been, that may have not have gone to school specifically for voice acting, or let alone, most voice actors have like a theater driven background, but there have been circumstances where people didn't have that, and then you see them become successful without getting to that point. I just love that progression, that it's like it shows that it's not it just didn't fall in your lap. It's something that you actually had to work on. It's always cool.
That's the interesting thing about this field. You have, and I've seen my own peers guilty of it. I've been even guilty of it at some point earlier on. But, you see a lot of these, what feels like overnight successes, where all of a sudden they're the lead of every show, or like they're just major character after major character. And you're like, what the hell? Where did that guy even come from? Or, like, what did I do wrong or whatever? But the thing that you come to learn and realize is, you don't know what a person's path truly entails, kind of like what you were touching on, and that we all have different walks of life. And the terrible thing about the internet and social media is that it's essentially just a highlight reel. Like, you go on my thing, on my resume and whatnot, and you see that I've just, anime after anime after video game after video game. Then I do a shit ton of commercials that's not even like listed and whatnot. But like, unless you actually talk to me and know that's like, yeah, I got my theater degree several years ago. I mean, practically a decade ago at this point. And there was a point where I was even like homeless. It was very, very brief, but I was homeless living out of my car. And just, when I finally got an apartment, there was a time where I was sharing a 3-bedroom with 4 different dudes. So it's like, wow. So it's like everyone had a bedroom except me. I was like living in the living room, but like I relegated like a small part. I put up curtains and I made like a makeshift room, so to speak.
Like a divider of some sort.
Yeah,
that's like, okay.
yeah. It's like those. Yeah, like those were the days where it's like me and a couple of my best friends would go to Walmart at like 2-3 in the morning to find them clearancing some of the subs or whatever and being like, all right, there's dinner right there. Barely, having to like pull up our bank accounts. It's like, all right, cool. I got 129. This should cost 118 with the tax. I should be able to buy this clearance sub now. They don't see any of that because, again, social media and the internet in general, just like it's just the highlight reels. You don't see any of the struggle. You don't see some of my peers who look like overnight successes. You don't see that they were they were child actors.
Yeah.
Well, and not even just the struggling. Some of them you don't even realize they were like child actors, or that they've been doing this since they were younger. But because now they're all of a sudden like become mainstream, it looks like to the public, it looks like they came out of nowhere. But internally in the industry, casting directors probably have known about them for years. It's not like they were just random and whatnot. So there's a lot that you come to learn in terms of sort of like these overnight success stories and how legitimately like a lot of them aren't overnight successes. They really have been like putting in a lot of work. You just don't necessarily see it.
I totally agree. Yeah. And like, I mean, do you yourself have like a personal fandom, it could be anything like anime, gaming, I don't know, like soccer, like what do you have personal fandom?
Like one that I'm personally like involved or not involved, but like attracted to, I guess, or like yes. I would say like not really. I think that's one of the things that probably separates me like a hair from my other peers is that I don't really have any of that. anytime I see friends and peers like express like so much love for a specific show or a specific product or project, don't get me wrong, like I've grown up and I have like a lot of nostalgia things under my belt, whether it's like Pokemon or Sonic or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all these like things where it's like I've grown up on. It's like, yeah, well, of course I love all of that stuff, but there's nothing that I've legitimately like let myself be like a hardcore part of, and not because I don't want to. It's just I don't know. I guess I take things with a moderate level of fascination and appreciation.
I love that. That's a good answer in itself. It's like, you know what? I like this, but I don't like this to a point that it doesn't define me.
Right, good. Exactly. Like, I mean, I guess if you really want, some of my fans would probably be like, hey, cheese is his fandom. But it's like, all right, cool, yeah. Like, I like cheese, but I mean, let's be like realistically speaking, outside of the jokes, it's like, yeah, moderation is key, right?
Right, exactly. And I mean, and when you're away from the booth or when you leave the booth, like, what is it? Is there anything that you like to do that kind of makes you that you like to do to decompress from your work?
Not fully. I kind of just go back to sitting on my computer chair, or I go into the living room and I pet my dogs a little bit and kind of sit down. If I had like a remote session where I was inside of my own personal booth, then I mean, first thing that's happening is sweaty ass shirts coming off, and I am just like turning all the ACs back on and getting myself back to a normal temperature. But
is it like no ventilation in your personal booth? It's like,
well, it's not that there isn't any ventilation, but it's when you have to turn all the AC units off on top of like screaming inside of your booth, and just it don't matter how much ventilation is in there. That's true. Once my fat ass starts getting that booth sweated up, like it's done. No amount of ventilation is gonna save that. But yeah, I mean, it really is no different than me, back when I used to work at like Ross or Publix or wherever it was. I just, after I get off of work, I just come home. I kind of just sit at my computer or lay down in bed in silence for like a little bit, and then back to browsing Reddit or watching YouTube videos or listening to music. Like it sounds boring, but it's like it really is just like me clocking in for my shift and clocking out. Like there is no.
Well, one could say that your decompression is to browse, is to surf, just aimlessly surf on the web.
Sure. In that case, man, I'm decompressing a lot. I will tell you.
It's like I'm just going to look around, just peruse around the internet and see what's out there. Because that's but you gotta be careful sometimes, because sometimes actually it's a good way to kind of segue to the next question here, because I would have to say you're one of the bravest people to go into a subreddit on a character you played and have the folks say about like the folks to criticize the performance itself. Like, I mean, like I was like, usually you don't see a lot of people doing that because they don't want to hear that crazy feedback, especially on the subreddit. But like, do you usually get feedback by lurking in forums like that, or is it just like something you have to be in the mood for it or so?
So it's weird. So, and I refuse to believe that there isn't a single one of my peers that doesn't fucking Google themselves. Oh, by the way, do I have to keep this PG? I just realized I'm like dropping okay, cool.
We're like 10 minutes in now, and it's like now you're like, okay, now
that was the first F-bomb I dropped, if we're being I mean, that was just like, oh, okay, shit.
That's fair. No, you good, man.
I like having a little bit of, like, I'm a guy, I'm just a dude. I don't fucking, like, don't get me wrong, I'm professional and I need to, and I'll code switch back when I'm in a room where it's just like, oh, there's some suits here, but like, us talking, it's just like, no, this is who I am right here.
Here's the thing though, because this is exactly what I want from this podcast, because like I know, like, I definitely love going to a convention and meeting folks and like, voice actors and stuff, but I love it that when it's just purely raw like this, like it's like nice, chill, relax, and it's kind of conversation, just a straight up conversation. That's exactly what I've been trying to go for. So whatever you want to do, go for it, man.
Dig it. But yeah, going back to the question, I refuse to believe that there isn't a single one of my peers that don't like either search themselves on social media or Google themselves or check Reddit, etc. The only difference is for me personally, I'll do that and I'll see some of the feedback, right? And I think the only time I will legitimately engage with vocal feedback is if it's positive. And not too much either. Just like a quick thanks, or if I think something's funny or whatever. Like going into the subreddit for that thirsts over your character. I also think there's something fun and funny about just like kind of popping up. Like if there's anything that people should know if they don't already know about me from my social media, it's like I'm just a shit poster. I just like to have fun, and I think there's something really fun about just like popping in and be like, boo, But in terms of like finding feedback to correct performances and all this stuff, truthfully, I really don't give a shit what the fans say, because whether you like or hate a performance, at the end of the day, I did what the director wanted. So it's not even that, while yes, I do bring an element of myself to a role, I bring my own creative ideas to a role, my line reads, etc. At the end of the day, everything has to be approved by the director and their vision. And so, at the end of the day, it really is, have I satisfied the client and the director? And if the answer is yes, then that's all I could ask for. Because whether or not fans hate my voice or hated my performance in a role and whatnot, I had no control over that. Like I did an audition, I got cast for what I did. So what good is that feedback? Oh, I hated his voice, it was too deep. Or, oh, I hated his voice, it's too nasally, or it's not deep enough, or I prefer the Japanese. Like that's not constructive, that's stuff that is legitimately just out of my control. So why am I going to look for things that I can't fix or change?
I'll try to search for some sort of level of validation of whatever the people. I mean, like, not saying that you are, but like rather.
No, right. Yeah. It's like don't get me wrong. Like, I look at them because obviously curiosity gets the best of us, and we want to know that people like what we're doing. And seeing that people hate it will still make us spiral. That's absolutely made me spiral every now and then. But in terms of like adjusting performances in the future and doing this and doing that, it's like there is nothing to be done because, again, I'm being directed. There is an element that is out of my control. So if you didn't like my iteration or my performance of a thing, that had nothing, like, there is literally nothing I could do about that, because at the end of the day, they cast me and I said yes, and I did what they wanted, you know?
Oh man, I totally understand. That makes I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not like I mean, you're just you're a working piece of a bigger picture there.
Exactly. And, we're just a cog in the machine, you know?
Exactly. And then it's not up to you on whatever happens. It's like, oh no, this is just me on my first take of this character. Here we go. Let's release it out there in the ether. No, there's someone out there that'll say, yeah, let's do it. Let's go with that and deal with it.
Yeah, no. And like, you know, even there are even times where like I've gotten out of sessions and I'll tell my girlfriend or my best friends, like, I hated what we did, that I tried throwing out things that I think hit my ear better or that I think were better, but they ultimately wanted me to go in this direction or that direction. And it's like, okay, well, like, at that point it legitimately is out of my hand. And you know, the pros and cons of being an actor is, when you get to this level, right, is that you'll become the face of a product, which means you get all of the good. So if they love the product, love the thing, the actor is the one that gets all the praise. Fuck the director, fuck the writer, fuck everybody in the production who legitimately brought the performance into the space. Only the actor essentially gets the recognition, and it's shitty, and I hate that. But, you know, that's what happens. But at the same time, if production or directors or whatever made some pretty wild choices or made you go in a weird ass direction, and you know it was bad, or you didn't like it, or whatever it could be, and the fans don't like it, again, you get the blame. So it's a double-edged sword in a way. It's like you get all the good and you also get all the bad. So, you know, because I've as you already mentioned in the beginning of this session, like the Genshin community, for instance, absolutely love them, but man, can they go to extremes sometimes. And, you know, I've had peers that have been just straight up pitchforked for something out of their control, you know. I don't want to name names, but, you know, I remember one of my friends was so excited to be cast, and seeing that they had to kind of abandon ship on the social media train because everybody disliked their character, or disliked their iteration, their voice. They thought it was too annoying or whatever it could be. And it's like, they had no control over that.
Like, they dropped their social completely just because of the feedback.
Momentarily, yeah. Because, you know, the people came in droves. You know, if you look at any post that we make in regard to like these announcements or these things, like, they can easily hit 10K plus in terms of engagement and whatnot. So it's like, if the community as a whole dislikes your performance, you are going to hear it, and it's going to suck. I've been, you know, very, very fortunate in that the majority of the community has been welcoming, has praised my performance in some capacity or another. You always will going to have the people who are going to prefer the dub, the Japanese. Yeah, actually, it is a dub in this case. Yeah, they'll prefer the Japanese dub, or they'll prefer the original, and that's fine. Preferences, you know, you can't win them all. But the fact that, you know, I have quite a number of people who have shown their support. You know, you go into that subreddit, people are like, "Man, that was awesome."
But is it kind of tough though? I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, is it kind of tough to kind of Like a subreddit, especially I can only imagine a Genshin impact, like specifically a Genshin subreddit has to be like a lot of people to be kind of like, is there like, is it just thick skin, or is it just you just have to come into it as just like, oh, these people are people could be trolling, or these people could be these people are not giving me like, constructive feedback, but just like they're just basically hating the hate. Like, is it tough to kind of keep your composure when you see a lot of different kinds of stuff like that?
To a degree, I think the big thing is receiving the initial shock in the beginning. Like I said, I was welcomed from the beginning, so thankfully I haven't actually had to deal with any sort of hate or anything. So the few times it has come up, I mean, I've already been doing this for years at this point, but so I kind of already understand the online communities and know that sometimes, like I said, you can't be everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. But the thing that's interesting about some of these fandoms, such as Genshin, is you don't realize just how massive and vocal the community is. So, and we don't have any sort of training, like we're voice actors. We're not like AAA celebrities or camera actors or anything. Even the most celebrity voice actor is probably on the same scale of like a D-list camera celebrity. It's like the levels are just that drastically different when it comes to voiceover as a medium versus like camera acting. So we don't have anyone to sit there and tell us how to navigate PR, how to handle online stuff, or to not even interact with it at all. Just have like a PR agent deal with everything and do it. Like, we don't have that. We're not big enough to do that. The most that we have is each other to kind of give a warning of like, hey, so this is what's happened with these folks in the past. Tread lightly. This is the do's and the don'ts. If you don't want to receive too many pitchforks, if any at all, then it's like we have like small little guidelines where a couple of us may reach out to, like when we learn of who a new person is. Like, hey, by the way, like, be careful with ship art, for instance. If you do the wrong thing with the wrong ship, guess what? You're fucked. And even if you think it's just like an innocent, or it's like just a cool drawing or it's fun and you meant literally nothing by it, you can get pitchforks in droves, and it sucks. So part of it is thick skin. Part of it is knowing that you can't please them all. If you do see negative stuff, also, you don't need to interact with it very much, if any at all. There are some actors, some peers who feel the need to, when they see a negative comment about them, to defend themselves, whether it be on YouTube comments, Reddit comments, wherever it may be. And I think it just speaks to having way too much fucking time on your hands. You need to understand that, hey, that person, you don't need to convince them to like you, man. They don't like you, and it's really as simple as that. Don't dwell. I can go to any of my peers and ask them, what do you think of like so and so's performance? Not even not even in regular stuff, in our stuff, but talk about like a camera performance or a movie from 10 years ago, 15 years. Like, everyone's qualified to their opinion. Like, oh, I love this actor in that. I hated that performance. I like that performance. It can clearly act, but they were led astray. It's like, you don't have to like a person's performance. So it's no different for the fans either. They don't have to like you. As long as there are boundaries and, a level of respect is had, then great. That's all you need. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, I get it, especially when you start seeing much more negative than you'd like online. It's a little harder to shrug it off. Because at the end of the day, we are just people. It's hard to bottle emotions. It's hard to keep them, like, emotions will override logic. At the end of the day, you did what you were told. You did what the client wanted. Everything was great, blah, blah, blah. And also, you have a bunch of people that loved your work. But, for all that I'm talking, I do acknowledge it is a lot harder to just shrug off too. Because, I mean, who likes seeing that these people like really fucking hated you or your performance or whatever. It's like no one likes that. It's easier to shrug off sometimes than others. But that is the thing. Like part of it's thick skin, part of it is just kind of learning to live in your own like zen little bubble, and understand that the online consensus, it holds very little weight compared to what your actual bookings and your industry peers think, because at the end of the day, let's say you have an actor who's received a lot of online hate for a performance, but they're still working, they're still getting role after role after role, then who gives a shit, like you're still succeeding.
You're definitely better off where you're at before. I mean, you're on a good platform that you're able to doing what you're doing that you love to do. So yeah, definitely understandable, man. God, Nazeeh, you're like the most realist person. I'm talking. I love it. I'm
no different at conventions either. I just
Oh, I love it.
I am what I am.
yeah, I love it. But the big, let's get to like, I guess more positively. Let's say this. Sure. Like, do you have like a dream role you want to like that you like to play or want to play? Is there anything out there that you would love to have a chance to take your crack at it?
I don't have one per se. Like again, there are franchises that I love. Like I'd love to be given a crack at like the Sonic franchise, for instance.
What character would you be in Sonic if you did?
Shit, give me Sonic, baby. I think Shadow is super, super cool and fun. I mean, there's so many fucking cool characters. So, a gun to my head told me pick, I'd probably say Shadow or Sonic. Probably depends on how I feel that day. But
I'm not even going to say just one. I'm just saying, you can have more than one dream role. I mean,
for sure. Like there are roles that I'd love to have a chance at. But like nothing where like I don't have posters of this character or like plushies or anything. Like again, I don't do that. It's more just like, yeah, it'd be cool if I was, I don't know, if I played a villain in the Batman universe. It'd be cool if I played a villain in the Spider-Man universe. It's like I have like those kinds of things where it's like, yeah, of course, but who the fuck doesn't? It makes me laugh every time I see those like Reddit or not thread, those Twitter threads from some of my peers where it's just like, here's my dream role and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, man. Yeah, same. Like, who the fuck doesn't want to be in that project? Oh, sorry, because you said it out loud, it's going to happen. That was my mistake. I should have been more vocal. Like, it doesn't work that way. There's something funny about like online campaigning to me, where it's just like no one gives a shit, man. I'm like, shut up. Of course, I think my other favorite is when those threads come around and people will put a character for what's probably going to be like the next big anime or like the next big property or some shit. I'm like, shut the fuck up. That's gonna be a dream role for all of like 2 months, and then once it gets cast, it's gone. That's it. Yeah, my dream role is also the next big project. Who would have fucking thunk it?
Oh man, that is funny.
I'm telling you, man.
It's hilarious.
It's funny to me. That's all, man. It's like we're all doing the same thing. Like I get it. Have your fun. It's like I'm not going into the threads and being like shut the fuck up. But I'm definitely like
or arguing about it in that sense.
Yeah, right. Like I gotta do what you need to do. But I'm like, man, and you think I don't? Come on.
And then like out of all the roles that you've played, excuse me. Thank you. Out of all the roles that you've played, like, what was there any of the most what was one of the most challenging characters that you voiced and why?
There are a few and for differing reasons. One of them, funny enough, was Alhaitham, because he's very, very monotone, flat, cold, so to speak. So trying to find a means of giving a lively enough performance without sounding uninteresting was definitely a very difficult line across. Like he wasn't vocally intense or anything, but again, trying to find the layers when only given this much wiggle room is super, super, super hard and tight. And granted, it was harder in the beginning because he was more of a, like an anonymous, like, oh, who is he? So we had to play it closer to chest. But then the more things that developed in the story, the more it was like, okay, we can open it up a little bit and show a little more, have a little more range in the emotion and the thing. Not much, but just a little more to get people to understand, oh, okay, hold on, like there's actually a person there. Other roles, I played a character named Misumi in A3, a show called A3. I believe it was spring and summer. Was the season? It was the first season of it, and for me that was a very strange voice for me because the Japanese was like very high, and so it was me kind of like, oh boy, like I'm just kind of talking like this and whatnot, and it was like really strange to me, and it was like very jarring. But again, as recording went on, and then after it got released, and people like absolutely loved it, and it was like, oh yeah, no, he did the role right, and I was like, all right, cool, thank you. That's all I can ask for. And I guess the last one would be I'd probably kind of give Chobe an honorable mention for no other reason than scratching the hell out of my voice, because doing some of those screams and going nuts, because for that one it's like, while Misumi is like all up high and like partial falsetto and stuff, like that one is just like, yeah, I'm just kind of like rasping up the voice and screaming and attacking, and
oh
like,
god,
jeez, man, yeah,
your
like,
voice. I didn't even know you were Chobe until I saw your list. I was like, oh wow, that is a big departure from what you normally
yeah,
because of the
yeah.
raspiness. It's like packs of cigarettes, like two packs a day kind of situation, kind of with the raspiness.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's I love doing that voice. And I actually obviously NDAs, but I'm using that voice or a similar enough thing now. Like I'm starting to get like my typecasts are becoming either like hot guy or like vocal gremlin, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I mean, I couldn't ask for better typecasts. I'll take it. As long as I still have a voice, I'm more than happy to wreck it.
That is true. But like I did interview Marissa Duran in December, and we were kind of geeking out about Hell's Paradise quite a bit about it, and hopefully I'm crossing our fingers we're going to get hopefully there's a second season coming on that one. But like you like you said, you played the violent yet loyal like Chobe Aza, but this character seemed a lot different than what you normally do. Like from like you were saying, either husbando level or what's called goblin.
Right. Yeah.
Like how was your experience? Like overall, the experience just playing him. Like how was your experience playing that character itself overall?
I mean, it was super, super fun. I think there is a level of us inside of us that always wants to do kind of like those unhinged characters, right? Or violent, or where you kind of just get to do that sort of like psychopathy in a way. So having a character where I could legitimately just, essentially just scream, kill, murder, laugh at all of it, and just kind of be that like that fun unhinged performance, rather than like there is no such thing as a wrong choice when it comes to those kinds of characters. I mean, there is, but you've got to be really bad at acting to come across that. But being able to kind of like just no limits, just go for it. Super, super, super fun, super rewarding. And it was one of the few times where I finally got to kind of use that voice. I mean, it's always been there. It's just, when you get audition specs and whatnot, there are very few times where that kind of a voice comes into play, but luckily, I starting to build up the reputation of where my voice lies, and kind of the boundaries of what I can and can't do. So, and people have been recognizing that. Like I said, I just got cast in a project right now that I'm working on where I'm using that same similar voice, and it's super super fun. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Like I said, vocal shredder, but absolutely love it.
Oh yeah. Well, like one of the things I'd say that character is probably the closest to being a villain, like because most of the they're I guess they're technically antagonists, but they're not antagonists because they're technically criminals, but still it's like it's the closest that they can kind of be to be a protagonist that I usually folks like to like wanting to be the bad guy because it seems like they kind of don't have to follow the rules most of the time throughout the deal. So it feels like that's kind of where it's.
Sort of. I mean, the thing that's interesting about performances is, everybody always wants to be the leads, and I, for the most part, could give two shits about the leads because, and again, obviously, not every single lead, but for the most part, they're kind of just like the straight character. It's their foils that come into play that adds sort of more of the dimension into a show. So it's like, while you always have like, let's say the lead is just your stereotypical like shonen protagonist or whatever it could be. Again, they're generally the straight man. So it's like, while yes, there are some comedic elements to be had and whatnot, there is still like a boundary to play that character. Meanwhile, like the antagonists that come across, or the rivals, or the secondary characters that become friends, like those characters generally have the more the funner traits, so to speak, especially like, you can pick almost any show. And while, don't get me wrong, the leads are usually the most loved because them being built as the straight man usually also makes them the most agreeable, the most likable, the one with the most honorable values, et cetera, et cetera. But, when you look at various shows, how many times you're looking, it's just like, man, that is a badass and super fun character. Like even looking at like super popular anime, right? Like you have like Hunter x Hunter. And while yes, Gon is, super cool, super fun, whatnot, people absolutely love Killua. People absolutely go nuts for Hisoka. Secondary characters with respect to whatever the lead. You look at Naruto and people love yes, they love Naruto, but they also really love Gaara. They love Orochimaru. They love Sasuke. They love all these different characters that come into play. The supporting cast, yeah. So it's like for me, I've told like many people, it's like I don't care whether or not I get the lead, as long as like if I am given a lead, I just want it to be an interesting lead, not like a one-dimensional sort of character. Otherwise, last example, if you look at like Demon Slayer, like Inosuke, for me, steals that almost every scene that he's in, or like in the entertainment district when they had Tengen, like that guy was so fun and flashy and badass, and it's like, yeah, screw Tanjiro, I don't give any shit about him. Like, let me see these other guys, So yeah, it kind of building on what you were mentioning, like while there is something to be said about the playing the leads, it's usually the characters that support and are surrounding the lead where that get the more interesting qualities. Because again, the lead generally has to be,
straight and narrow to the
straight and narrow, and it's like, yeah.
No, I totally understand. It's like that's why some of the series like there was certain series that like you were saying like with Naruto, but like I know like My Hero is probably the biggest one in my currently right now, because it's like, yeah, people like the dude, but they like the dude, but like there's so many more interesting people in that whole library of that series that's like way better than what people care about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some characters that have like so little screen time, but all of a sudden are like stealing hearts. I mean, One Piece is an even bigger example of that, where it's like, yeah, everyone loves the main cast, but like you get a character like Shanks come up, or Mihawk, or Katakuri, or Odin, who was essentially just flashback characters, and he's like fucking top 10 or 20 in terms of people's like favorites. Like that's just the way it works. Yes, the interesting ones are always surrounding in some capacity.
It's actually kind of funny, true story. One of like my girlfriend at the time, like hated watching One Piece because how long it is. Because it took forever. It takes forever. I mean, we're there like almost 1,100 episodes now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it took forever. So like, so she finally found an episode like that got her. Like the reason why she wanted to watch the series was because she finally saw an episode of I think his name is Katakuri. The dude loves eating donuts.
Yeah.
19-foot tall dude, and then like he decided like she fell in love with this dude that it forced her to kind of wanting to watch the series all the way up to that point to be like, oh, this is really cool. It's like, you know what, the cast is already strong as it is, but when you have a random baddie that comes in one season and decides to say, hey, this is the reason why I'm going to go watch 1,100 episodes of an anime, it just shows the power of all of that. So no, I totally agree. I mean, I totally agree with you. It's like the lead is the lead, but no, it's more interesting to have. I think if you have interesting side characters or characters that are like really cool in the deal, I would definitely be proud about doing a role like that on the side any day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, and also you voiced like the two biggest characters that that you voiced that have like a ridiculous fan base in my opinion is Al Haytham. So you got that right. Get that. I'll hit them in Genshin Impact and Raihan in Pokemon, Twilight Wings. Like, what was your reaction when you heard like about the extreme popularity of these characters? Like, I mean, when you seen I've seen fans fictions, I've seen like a lot of really crazy stuff about these two characters. Like, what was your your reaction to all of this when you saw or heard about it?
So funny enough, Raihan, I didn't actually care about any populator related things. That was just like, yo, shit, I'm in Pokemon right now. Like, what the fuck? Like don't get me wrong, like I saw a couple of like the fan arts and I saw a little bit of the popularity thing, but that one was more just a title thing than it was a character thing. Because there was, again, that like major nostalgia factor to it. With regard to Al Haytham, that one I saw grow from the start because I was already cast as him and recording while people were still leaking like, oh shit, here's his shoulder, oh here's his like ankle or whatever. It's like no one had like a complete unblurred image or anything. And meanwhile I'm just like, interesting, like y'all are geeking over like scraps right now. Interesting.
They had like a 5-minute YouTube video reaction of the person's shoulder.
Like legitimately, it was kind of funny. And then as more got revealed and as they finally like came out and as they like there was even like one of the initial trailers where I was finally revealed as the voice actor through the fucking YouTube description. He still wasn't shown in it, I don't think. I could be wrong. There might have been leaks by that point. But like officially it was still like in the dark, I believe. And people finally like taking the like the full body leaks and also when they finally got the official image and seeing that blow up as it did was kind of insane actually. It only added that much pressure into hoping that the fans liked me because again, as mentioned earlier, you incur the wrath of the fans, you're fucked. But it was that one I got to see unfold in real time, just all of the the extreme likeness or the extreme liking rather that the fans were taking to this quote unquote feeble scholar.
Did you find that interesting, or like, I mean, like that's what's sad. Well, you were at ground zero with all this, yeah.
Of course, yeah. No, of course, I found it interesting. I mean, I grew up on the internet essentially. I've been here from day one practically, so that kind of stuff, it doesn't phase me. It's not like I'm like, oh ye god, heavens my heart, I can't take it. It's like no. It's like, oh, y'all are really down bad right now. That's kind of crazy. But like nothing I haven't seen before, So for me, it was more just like a badge of honor, I guess, to have that. I even had like friends that were sending me some of this fan art, kind of like poking fun, or it's just like, yo, they really fucking like your character, and I'm like, yeah, they do. Yeah.
I mean,
also, don't pretend. Also, I was also like, don't pretend you saved that picture just to send me. I know you saved that to your phone.
That's your wallpaper lock screen.
Right, exactly. It's like, yeah, you're just using this as a cover. Shut the fuck up.
It's like, don't worry. It's like, no, I just found it. I promise. Oh no. Oh man, that's cool though. I mean, I just find it very funny. It's really funny and fascinating when I see stuff like that, and I'm just like, wow. It's like, I didn't think it's weird because like you don't think, especially like with Genshin Impact, there's just a huge like character roster that's just growing. I mean, they're in their third or fourth year now, and like to say that people are going to love a character or hate a character is like, it's hard to say. But to say that someone's have straight up hype for like specific characters even before they come out is quite interesting to like, oh wow, what makes this person like the husbando of the year for you? I mean,
it's definitely luck of the draw. I definitely got super lucky on that. It's just he definitely, like you said, there's a chance that he could have just flown under the radar, but the fact that he was built up as this kind of like huge character, and the fans ran with it, and obviously as more content gets released, he'll fall down in the tier list in terms of people's preferences and whatnot. But I still think he's like, I mean, once you hit in that sort of like the top 10, top 20 like husbandos kind of a scenario, it's like, I don't think you're necessarily falling off. So yeah, like I said, luck of the draw.
Are you? Was he an NPC or was he actually a draw character? I'm not. Yeah.
Ultimately, he's playable.
He's playable.
So,
okay.
Yeah. He was an NPC to begin with, but leaks had informed everybody that he was going to be a playable later. So I think that also, when you have a playable husbando, that's what really just like
seals the deal.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, oh man, he's hot and I own him. Like, holy hell. It's like, yeah.
It's like two birds, one stone right there.
Okay. Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right. And my final question to you, Nazeeh, the level of representation in voiceover has gradually improved overall, especially I love seeing it. And especially for multi-ethnic voice actors itself. Since you have a foot in the game, in it, how's your experience been overall, through your journey?
I think my experience has been generally positive. I can't deny that me being ethnic hasn't helped in some opportunities here and there. And it's one of those cases where there's always something that can be improved, right? There isn't a 100% we've reached end goal here and whatnot. And what end goal is, I don't know. It's one of those we just want to see for conditions to be more equal across the board is really what it boils down to. I think one of the pigeonholes that's happening, which needs to kind of, again, we're still navigating the landscape, is finding and using tokens. It's not going just to a single actor and using them as your every black guy or every Middle Eastern guy or every, it's like there's an element. Exactly. It's just like, okay, cool. We've gotten those actors and yes, they fit the bill and it's great. However, there are others. There are more. So it's kind of trying to get companies and get clients to understand that having their favorite token isn't an answer either, using myself as an example, or it's just if there is a Middle Eastern role, I probably get an audition for it. Do I land them all? Of course not, obviously not. But, depending on the client, depending on the company, I probably have more consideration than others because of my tenure with said companies or clients or friends or whatever it could be. And so it's I don't get me wrong, a paycheck's a paycheck, and I'll take if it's given to me. But there is that element of there is more than just me. There is, numerous individuals in the industry that just need to be given the chance to build up their skills to be at the level where me and some of my peers are at. Because it is hard. Sometimes it is well, we'd love to give that opportunity, but there is still a level of meritocracy to this. You still need to have your skills up to snuff and be able to act. And, it's kind of finding that balance of getting more actors in and getting their feet wet and kind of building them up, because as many classes as you take, again, it's no substitute for actual experience. I didn't get to where I was without the past couple of years, mainly the pandemic and the remote recordings and everything. I got my feet so wet. And because of that, I constantly learned and got better. And now it's like, I am a completely different actor than I was 3 years ago. And it's all thanks to the experience. So is it in an okay place right now? I think it's okay. There are absolutely concerted efforts in terms of getting more POCs, more ethnic actors, people that fit the bills and whatnot. The main thing is just kind of learning to navigate tokenization, preventing that, and also shoehorning people only into their specific categories as well. Because I feel like in a weird way, we've kind of gone back to full circle where some actors will only be considered for roles of their ethnicity. And there is a give and take to this, right? Where you've just gone, and part of the problem was the opportunities for roles being like spread across. But what the answer is, I don't know. It probably is like creating more diversity in the characters and cast themselves. That's probably really what it boils down to, in terms of having actors brought in and being able to spread the wealth and whatnot. Because as of right now, having myself only being given a Middle Eastern thing and looking at that, and it's just like, okay, cool, that's fine if you actually had a wealth of Middle Eastern characters, but guess what? You have like one terrorist every like 20 video games, and that's all I get. So it's like, okay, cool, we either need to find a way to finagle the ethnic boundaries into who can audition for what will be accepted for what, are accents okay as long as everything is done respectfully and whatnot, or the easier answer being just like putting more than like one just ethnicity in a video game so that the opportunities are back to limited again, but yeah, it's definitely, it is absolutely better than where it was. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But as most things in this industry, there is always room for improvement.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. But I definitely love the fact, though. I'm just looking on the outside. I don't know how it is on the inside, but when I'm seeing like how you are like are proceeding, like seeing in the roles that you've been getting, as well as like Alejandro Saab and like Zeno Robinson and groups like that, like just getting a lot more diverse. Because I remember, I'm old school too. I'm OG when it comes to like seeing all the voice acting and seeing where it started for like when you saw like when you see a black voice actor was getting pigeonholed in those black roles, but it's very limited, and they were never either the lead or the supporting or whatever. But then to where it is today, where you're just seeing a very good, like a better multi-cultured background of voice actors that are doing it, then it's like, okay, it's getting better. We're not there yet, but it is getting better.
Right. Right. It begins opening up that like discussion of like, how much is too much? Because like, for instance, you look at Phil Lamar's Samurai Jack, right? Nobody hates that. He is doing a respectful interpretation with an accented read on there, and everybody absolutely loves him. So again, there's a lot of discussion to be had in the industry regarding just like, where do the limitations occur, by all means, like having actors of the proper ethnicity voicing the proper ethnic characters, absolutely delightful. But there's also that element of, if the clients aren't constantly like bringing in more of those, then again, you're just kind of bringing us back to square one, where it's like, okay, cool, I'm only being considered for this one thing the same way I was 5 years ago. What are we doing here? But I think respect has a lot to go, and or rather has a lot to do with it. And just hopefully clients just expand the rosters more, so that there isn't this sort of just constantly pigeonholing and whatnot.
Right.
Because there have been a number of times where people will come up to me and talk about like their love of the fact that like they feel represented by my casting in a project. And it's like, okay, cool, I didn't voice a Middle Eastern character, so sometimes the actor themselves, having them in the project, also aids in that sort of inclusion and sort of that representation. Again, super what's the word I'm looking for? Super nuanced conversation that needs to be had, that while clients and companies figure out what they're doing, but we're getting there at some point.
It's the best way to say it, I guess. So, yeah. Hey, but Nazeeh, it was a delight talking to you. It was awesome getting a chance to interview. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I highly appreciate you, putting up with my lengthy ass responses and whatnot. A lot of these could have just been like a couple sentences, but here we are.
Hey, I love discussions, man. It was good. It was just really interesting to hear you talk about your take on things. So it's cool, dude. But like, guys, once again, if you love the interview, like with Nazeeh Tarsha, definitely check it out here on any podcast services out there. We will release it. We release it on all podcast services as well on our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com. So once again, this is Davis signing out. Y'all, take it easy.